nomination to head the Veterans Administration. Dr. Jackson met with top White House aides tonight. That's in the wake of the stunning new allegations Dr. Jackson, the White House physician, wrecked a government vehicle while drunk. That on at least one occasion he could not be reached when needed because he was, quote, passed out drunk in his hotel room. And then there's a claim that Dr. Jackson provided such a large supply of Percocet to someone from the White House military office that it threw his staff into a panic, his own staff into a panic. Those allegations laid out in a document by Democrats on the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee, based on allegations from 23 current and former colleagues of Dr. Jackson. I want to bring in now CNN military and diplomatic analyst Rear Admiral John Kirby and former White House ethics lawyer Richard Painter. So there's a lot to get to this evening. And Admiral Kirby, before I get to you, I mean, these are allegations. These are not thrown around just willy-nilly, right?
These are pretty serious allegations, yeah, Don. I mean, I don't know if they're true, but certainly they're coming from multiple people, and I'm stunned that some of them are both current and former, so that tells you there may be some sort of relevance to it in terms of time. Okay. So, yeah, these are very serious allegations for any naval officer, and they ought to be taken seriously. Okay, so then let's get down to it then. So Dr. Jackson was at the White House tonight, and according to one official, he was there to talk about to aides about his next step. And we're told you're not getting any announcement tonight, but do you think he's done? I don't know that I'm ready to say that this nomination is done or doomed. I mean, it's certainly going to face an even steeper climb than it was before. And remember, Don, it was already going to be a challenge for him just based on the way in which he was announced and concerns that many lawmakers have about his experience level and his leadership ability. That was even before this. So this is definitely going to make it tougher for him.
All right, here's what he is saying about the last allegation.
You never wrecked your car. Did anything happen with opioids? The Democrats are laying all this out.
I have no idea where that's coming from.
Do you still want to move forward with the nomination?
It should be
handing out Percocets? Is it not a government car?
It should be very easy to prove that, right? Yeah.
Well, okay. Where are these allegations coming from?
Thanks, guys.
Have you been handing out Percocets?
You have no idea?
Are you withdrawing your nomination?
No, I've not wrecked a car, so I can tell you that. It's easy to deduct.
Will you move forward?
We're still moving ahead. Thank you. You're still moving ahead?
Did you tell the president that, sir?
Thanks, guys.
So he denies wrecking a car. You heard him. Richard said, I'm still moving ahead. When you first heard about these allegations, what did you think?
I thought the White House hadn't done a good vetting job at all. They hadn't bothered to find out what had been going on in his personal background. It's very similar to the situation we had with Mr. Porter earlier on, the White House staffer, senior White House staffer, staff secretary, who was beating his wives or accused of beating his wives. That's the kind of thing that should lead to a nomination being killed and somebody not being allowed on the White House staff. If this White House had the slightest idea what they were doing, they would have known all of this before this nomination was made, and they would have decided against it. And the most serious concern, I'd have to say, is the allegation that he was giving out prescriptions, right and left. Apparently some people calling him the candy man. I mean, that's not the kind of thing we need going on in the White House medical office.
You mentioned the vetting process, but yet the White House is insisting, Richard, that Dr. Jackson was vetted. This is what we heard from the White House press briefing earlier today. Watch this.
Dr. Jackson's record as a White House physician has been impeccable. In fact, because Dr. Jackson has worked within arm's reach of 3 presidents, he has received more vetting than most nominees.
So as an ethics person, how can the White House honestly say that Dr. Jackson has undergone all his vetting? Because wouldn't this have come up?
Well, it's the same person probably who vetted Rob Porter, the guy who was accused of beating his wives. I mean, this White House doesn't know what's going on when it comes to vetting any more than they do financial conflicts of interest. And I don't know whether it's somebody's on drugs or whether somebody just doesn't care. The president is tweeting as if, I don't know what's going on with him. This White House is in complete disarray. And this never would have happened in a professionally run operation to have someone with this many serious allegations proposed for a Senate-confirmed position in the administration.
Yeah, but again, they're allegations now, and they're very serious allegations, Admiral Kirby, as we talked about. But even if they weren't in the picture, the president himself even talked about Dr. Jackson's lack of experience. Watch this.
I've gotten to know him pretty well. He's a great doctor. And it was a suggestion. Now, I know there's an experience problem because lack of experience, but there's an experience problem. The Veterans Administration is very important to me.
So the White House today tried to make it seem like the president never said that, but I mean, he did, because then there's always a soundbite or a tweet for everything, right?
Yeah.
These are real questions about his experience. There are real questions here.
And they're fair questions, Don, and we should all be asking them. And I was quite frankly glad that bipartisan decision in the committee to delay this thing indefinitely until they got to the bottom of these allegations, and then they can push forward. But look, I mean, you can't say in one breath, the VA is very important to me and taking care of veterans matters, and then in the same sentence say, I know this guy's not experienced. I mean, that is the crux of the issue, and I take deep issue with the president's assertion, which he said after that soundbite ended. You could, if you had listened more, you could see that he had said, no one has the experience to run the VA. It's not possible, and that's just not true. There have been great VA secretaries in the past. Yes, they come at their leadership and management responsibilities from different levels of expertise, but you can manage a bureaucracy of that size. And I, as a veteran myself, I want to hear Dr. Jackson answer questions from the committee about privatization of care. I want to hear how he's going to manage a budget that's $200 billion and a career force of 360,000 people. Those are important questions to me as a veteran, and I think we need to get to the bottom of those issues.
Yeah, I think the sentiment, what he said, you can manage the biggest hospital in the world and still not have enough experience to manage the VA. So no one has enough experience. That was the implication.
And if I could, Don, just if I could add to this, I mean, just slightly more than a third of the VA's budget goes to medical care, and health care is obviously the most important thing they do. No issue there, but it's not all that they do. And there's a lot of other tasks about in terms of benefits and compensation and running the cemeteries around the country and around the world. All that falls under the VA secretary, and I think he needs to be properly asked questions about how he would take care of those functions.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it. When we come back.